importance of good coaching during a global crisis, and the impact of regular practice on fitness and well-being. The second half will see players from Hyderabad FC share their experiences in an interaction with very excited students from enabling leadership. Before proceeding, I would like to give a warm welcome and thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening. Designated by the United Nations, 12th August is observed as International Youth Day. The purpose of this day is to draw attention to the issues faced by our youth and understanding ways to promote their development. Pooja, my co-host, will now kickstart the first panel discussion of the day, where she will be talking about the importance of youth development with our esteemed guests. Pooja, over to you.
Thanks, Sandeep. A very good evening to everyone present here. Firstly, thank you so much for taking out the time to be a part of this event, especially on International Youth Day. It means a lot. Before we start off, just to give you an introduction on the two organizations that have come together to make this event possible. First of all, Hyderabad Football Club, I think most of us know about them. As one of the elite clubs in ISL, Hyderabad FC has done a lot towards evolving and developing the youth of a nation as well. They have conducted a lot of youth engagement efforts in terms of scouting trials and leagues for young boys and girls. Similarly, at enabling leadership here, we believe every child can be a leader, a positive contributor, and a global citizen. We do this through dedicated leadership and life skills development programs that leverage the medium of Lego, music, and football. Our football program is called the Just for Kicks program. Through these three programs today, we are impacting more than 5,000 kids across 8 sites in India and 1 site in Cambodia. These kids belong to government schools and low-income private schools across these countries. I think it is this combined belief in the youth of our country that brought us together to say that we should do something, and which is why we're here today to present this virtual event to all of you. A majority of our audience today are coaches and students, so welcome all of you. Without further ado, let's get started on the EL panel discussion today I'm very, very excited to actually introduce our panelists for today. They come from very, very diverse backgrounds. Just a few tips before we get started. I'd recommend that if you have any questions for any of our panelists, please note them down and we will give you time to actually present them in the chat window. The questions will then be selected, the panelists will answer them, and those that cannot be answered, we'll ensure that we take them offline. So let's get started. Our very first panelist for today is Mr. Thangboy Singto. He is the first team assistant coach and technical director at Hyderabad FC. He comes with a plethora of experience and has worked with different clubs across India like Northeast FC United, Kerala Blasters, and he's here to actually share his experience with you all. Over to you, Mr. Singto.
Praneeth, could you please give the unmute option to Mr. Singto?
Yeah, just a second.
Mr. Singto, you're still on mute, I think. Hello?
Yeah, I think.
No, you're not audible yet.
I'm not audible yet?
Yeah, now you're audible.
Sorry for the small glitch.
No worries.
Thank you very much, Pooja, for that wonderful and kind introduction. First of all, hi to everyone, and hi to the panelists, Rishi, Marcus, Aditi, Siddharth. It's a very, very pleasant day. It's a very, very pleasant moment for me to be in the midst of everyone here today. I think this collaboration on this International Day is something which is very much needed because everybody is on testing stands at the moment. Whether you're old, whether you're handsome, whether you're pretty, whether you're, whatever age, whatever weight you have, I think everybody is facing this, challenging time. I think representing Hyderabad is always an honor, and today, hopefully, I can do justice to whatever queries, whatever interaction we would have. For me, I feel that instead of sharing textbook pointers, I believe sharing ideas and interaction is more. I think it's more helpful to everyone, especially to the players and of course to the coaches. And we have an esteemed panelist who can always come in and share their views, if they have something good to share, and I believe they do. Well, I think Hyderabad FC is a new club, but then our vision, our aim to establish ourselves in Indian football is not lesser to any clubs in India. I think the most ardent credit goes to the management, of course, and of course, Mr. Varun Tripuraneni, because he's a person who has formed this team, and his vision and his passion for the game of football and the way he wants to run the club clearly, signifies the importance of today's date, that is the International Youth Day. Well, today, without much ado, I've been asked to touch base on 3 points. I will be touching those points definitely, but like I said before, it will be good more if queries and interactions and sharing come. The first one, of course, is our focus of youth in Hyderabad FC. Like most of you know here, I think our vision is very clear. Like I mentioned, the vision of the owner, the management, the staff is very clear. That's why if you see last season and even this season, coming season, we will be, if not the youngest, we'll be having the youngest, ISL team. That clearly indicates our vision towards how we want to promote youth, talented youth, and how we want to help the youth to grow themselves to become a better, human beings for the society. Well, the pathway or the platform we have is not, different from other clubs. It's simply, a pathway where we really focus on the grassroots level. Of course, like all other clubs, all other people, we also have been affected, but we didn't stop there. We tried our best to streamline and to propagate our vision, our ways of thinking about football to the public and to the young kids who wants to become professional footballers. So from the grassroots, we have a very, very robust and dynamic plans for the grassroots program. And as from there, we will be proceeding towards the youth, where we have the under 13 team, the under 15 team, the under 18 team. Then we have the reserve or the development team, which is very important. That will promote ultimately to the first team, that is Hyderabad FC main team. So this is the pathway. And I think, like I mentioned last year, we are the club, I think, who have played or who have allowed the number of minutes for these youngsters to execute their skills in the big platform, that ISL, which is watched by almost all over the world at the moment. So that shows our commitment, that shows our effort, that shows our vision, that here we are, Hyderabad FC is for the youth. Of course, along the lines, there will be players who have experience and who have really helped the club last season and this season also, but the focus will be always youth. So I believe that from these young players, hopefully one day some of you might be, who knows, who might don the colors of Hyderabad FC. You never know. Yeah. Yeah, that's basically, the focus on youth. Apart from that, we have other activities related to, in accordance with the AIFF, the ISL, criteria we have to fulfill. We do that. And we are very much committed on those lines also. Secondly, very quickly, I've been asked to share a little bit about the importance of training and the right training at the young age. I would like to look at this way, friends. I mean, it is very important. The people who are like we who are engaged with the young kids has to be very, very well equipped in what we're going to teach, in what we're going to, show to the youngsters in the learning process. For that, the most important part, I think, is the coaches, us coaches. We have to be well equipped. We have to be competent enough to understand the topic and the subject we're going to teach. Unless we understand clearly, until and understand we know the topic well, how are we going to deliver? That will be more challenging. And apart from that, I think as a coach, I think the most important part is planning. It's not that you plan, in a haphazard way. You plan on the spot. The planning has to be systematic and proper. The better planning you do, the better planning you'll be able to, you'll be able to execute. So without planning, it's always in every field, so to say. So with us coaches, planning is a very, very important factor. The other factor I want to stress is that when we are dealing with young players, boys and girls, one of the most important thing is the trust factor. Because outside the home, when the kids come to us for learning, for learning and playing, we become the second parent, sort of. So if they trust us, and the way we behave with them, the way we approach them, the way we talk to them is going to create a very, very great impact on their mental thought that relates to the physical output again. So it's very, very important. I feel that we have to come towards the kids as something who is reliable, whom we can connect well, and whom they can share, whatever difficulty they have for us to help them. I think that is very, very important. And apart from that, I think to streamline and develop football, or to make a young player or a young person develop in a holistic manner, I think the involvement of the parent is very, very crucial. Because sometimes what happens, the kids comes, the kids goes. If we don't know what sort of situation, we have to be doing a little bit more in trying to understand where the kids come from, the background. It's not about the financial part. It's not about the economic part I'm talking. It's about trying to understand where the parents come from, where the kids come from, whether the parents are very supportive of the kids. All these factors plays an important role in building a young kid, a young players, not only in the specific sports, but for him to have an all-round development as a human being. I think so. This is very, very important, I feel. And the training part, well, it has to be from simple to complex, as we all know. That's it. And we can't make it complex. The complex part comes when they grow bigger. So it has to be which they enjoy, fun filled, where they enjoy and they are ready to come the next day. You have to make it very enjoyable and fun filled. Last but not the least, for us coaches, it has not been easy like everybody else. Well, in terms of the impact of this pandemic is huge. Individual to individual, it differs. But for us coaches, physically, if you say maybe we have gained more weight, probably some of us, like me, definitely. And I think, well, we have to be an example, or in front of the kids. So our physical appearance, physical structure, the way we dress, the way we, stand in front of the kids has to be at least, good enough, so that there is no other comments, untoward comments coming from. So physical wise, it has been tough. Mental wise, it has been more tough. For some of us, it has been tougher because not being able to move out from the ground, from the home, and not being able to meet with friends. But one important factor is like today, the Zoom call, or through the social medium, which interaction we have is, I think that has been very helpful. Last but not the least, financially, I think it has been a very, very a bad effect on not only coaches, but many medium of the people of the society. I think even the coaches are, I think, struggling to sort of maintain the family, or to be in sync with what life they had before. But again, like I said, coaches are fighters. Coaches are there to be an example. So we have tried our best to be active. I believe the coaches who are here have been doing the same, getting more involved, so that when time comes, when good times come, when we can go out, I think we are more ready than before, both mentally, physically. Thank you. That's what I can say today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thankboy. We're actually now going to open it for question and answers. To do so, any coach that has a question can post it in the chat window right now. And we'll go ahead and Mr. Thankboy can answer them. As mentioned earlier, due to restrictions of time, we'll only be able to take a few questions, but any questions that are unanswered will be taken offline for sure. So go ahead and post your questions online.
No question is a good question.
That's true as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we
Thank
have
you.
a question from Donato. How do you keep the kids engaged in this pandemic?
Well, I mean, I have a son who is in higher secondary. I've seen him only in front of the laptop with his classes. I mean, I think, which is good, but I have discussion with my wife. This is too much. Well, I think as a parent, what we can do is that try to make them understand the importance of both studies, both a little bit of physical activity. Talk to them. The best way is not shout at them, but talk to them. Treat them as a little bit of adult. Try to make them understand that this, and in this moment, this is the best way you can do. Is to, okay, they might enjoy TV, they might enjoy the program. Give them time for that. If we push them only for studies, well, that might, on the longer run, might have, I believe, I might have a detrimental effect on the mindset. Just glued to their chairs and in front of the laptop. I think the schools also has to understand that apart from this, they need a little bit of physical activity. Maybe they can plan it better. They can be yoga classes, they can be music classes, they can be sort of other activities which that the kids can do. I think, and for footballers, there are ways and means. Oh, I don't have a turf, I don't have a ground, I don't have a terrace. You might have a small room, you might have a wall. You can make the wall your best friend. That is one way of enjoying football. You can develop your technique if you're really, really onto it. So there are always ways and means, I think, but the collaboration and the understanding with the parents and kids is very, very crucial here. I think parents has more to help the kids in finding out the ways and to get them involved, which most of the parents do. Donato, I don't know whether it answered your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Singto. I think we have a few questions flowing in. The next one is from Nishant. He asks, what are the key focus areas in terms of technical development for a kid between the age of 6 to 10?
I think, if I'm not wrong, that is still on the fun phase, so because at that age, well, it depends upon I think country to countries, a little bit of experience. I think Marcus will have maybe can share an idea how they do it in Germany. But my experience in India is that we start football very late, So when we start football, if we want to build a technical part of a player, he's always, maybe they are 12, 13 years already, not at that young age. But saying that, the trend has changing. The All India Football Federation, with the grassroots program, with the baby leagues, are making programs to make the footballing play age group much lower. I think it is coming. I still would say, when we do any technical training, I think there has to be an element of fun and enjoyment also, not forgetting the main part, that is development of technique. Yeah, I think you have to go to simple, like I said. First, whatever exercise we do, it has to be simple, and if they are good at that, we can progress it and make it a little bit difficult. But straight away going to a complex drills, when they cannot run with the ball, then you start saying a dribble, that might be quite difficult, for example. So, in other words, we say that let the kids make friend with the ball. Let the ball be their friend, So just to suggest here, I think there is one very famous youth developmental football, Tom Bayer, American, but he stays in Japan, if anybody knows. And his book is called Football Starts at Home. Football starts at home. I think if you go through those, I think a lot of things will be clear. We can go through in details, but maybe time is short. What I can say is that still make it fun, make it a proper fun and discover, so that they can discover the love of the game, and they progress, gradually, not straight away to the complex drills, complex techniques.
Thanks for answering that. I think we'll take one last question. The question here is, one second, sorry. Yeah, what has Hyderabad FC done during the pandemic for players in terms of training and development? This comes from Rishi from Enabling Leadership.
Well, just before the pandemic started, we conducted trials in Hyderabad for the under 13, under 15, under 18. So that's what we did. Then we traveled to northeastern states because we thought that first we'll do in Hyderabad, that is our base, giving importance because our club is from Hyderabad. So the opportunity has to be given there. So the management was kind enough and enough to have a trial that we did there, and we found some talents there. Unfortunately, we cannot continue it because of the situation at the moment. Then we traveled to Northeast because because Northeast has a bundle of talents, and most of the ISL and I-League players, the percent of players come from there. So the focus was there. Then we were planning to go to Kerala, West Bengal, and other parts of the country. So other than that, I think we have been in touch with the younger players in whatever way we can. That is the best medium is the Zoom or through social network. Any kids who need help in terms of training, in terms of how to develop their skills and all, we have been there. We have our youth coaches always there. And recently, I think we will be calling the reserves players for a camp. I think most of the ISL clubs, I don't know whether they do, but we will be taking part in a tournament very, very soon. So we will be starting a camp for those development players. So these few things we have been doing. Apart from that, of course, self-study and other things. Last, most important, we always stress for these kids at this moment that education is very, very important. So the trust and the focus for them is to attend these classes regularly, because education is the one which is going to properly to be ahead in the future. So education is one thing we have to really stress. Thank you.
Okay, we have just a little time for the last question. This one's from our guest speaker, Aditi Chauhan, actually. She's asked, how has Hyderabad SC encouraged girls' participation in football?
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I was thinking that Aditi might ask that. Well, Aditi, I mean, I know she has been the sort of a pioneer for Indian football, especially the girls' side. And I applaud what she has achieved and what she is going to achieve and what she has done so far. Aditi, Hyderabad, as I said, Hyderabad is a new club, but the intention has always been there. But first, we thought that maybe we structurize our youth system properly and then go. It's not that we are not bypassing or not interested in the girls' football, but due to this pandemic, these 2 years has really hit us. We could not even establish ourselves in Hyderabad because we had to stay in Goa last season, and this year also we have to be based in Goa due to the pandemic. But I can assure Aditi, maybe in the future you might be one of our a resource person in the future for the girls football. Definitely we have some plans, and definitely in the future, near future, we will be having a women's football team, definitely. And thank you for asking, and we need to be pushed, and thank you for the question, Aditi. For now, that's it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Mr. Thangboy. Sorry, we won't be able to take.
Thanks for the answer. I've just got
yeah.
It's great that I could meet your expectations because you expected this question from me.
No, I
So
mean,
thank you for the words,
yeah.
I know that I've seen how Hyderabad is focusing on the youth development, I'm quite confident that women's team will also get the emphasis and the stage for that it deserves through Hyderabad FC.
Thank you for the good thought. Hopefully, we'll do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thangpa. Thank you,
Th-
Aditi.
Thank you, Pooja.
Thank you so much. We'll move on now to our next panelist, who is our very own Rishi Nandwani. He is the program lead at Just for Kicks, at Enabling Leadership. He's been one of the critical people to actually set up the Just for Kicks football program in India along with the curriculum, and has also been crucial in actually expanding it to Cambodia. Over to you, Rishi.
Thanks, Pooja. Probably I'm not a panelist like everyone else because the coaches and everyone here has heard my voice a lot. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different tone. My talking points are more directed towards the other panelists, and maybe if the coaches and staff from Enabling Leadership have similar questions. The first thing I wanted to sort of talk about and maybe just give you some context is that through the pandemic, Just for Kicks has pivoted to being like an online program. And what we've been able to do, thanks to all the coaches who are here, is we've been able to focus a lot on individual skill development and probably football knowledge development. And that's how our program is currently structured. Obviously, we can't do group activities, we can't do on-ground sessions, but we have seen a lot of value in sort of the kids, the players practicing at home, exploring the concepts of football through like video watching, through discussions, through activities that we've designed. So I think what I wanted to bring light to is what can we do as organizations, whether it's a grassroots organization or a professional club, to keep students connected to the game and make them feel like even during a pandemic, they are kind of like learning something about the game or getting better as players. I would say like the coaches at Just for Kicks have been amazing in the kind of creativity they've brought to it, the kinds of activities they're doing with students. And we have seen that students are still connected to the game. They practice their passing against a wall at home 50 times a day. We have examples like that. So just curious to know if any of the panel members have thoughts on this idea, like how until grassroots organizations can actually start sessions with 20 students or 30 students, what do we do to make sure that they are continuing their development, that they stay connected to the game? Or if anyone from the audience would like to add. Pooja, is it okay if I make it interactive? Because I don't really want to.
Absolutely. Just we'll give you a heads up on time for sure, but the panelists can definitely add into what you're asking.
I think Siddharth has raised his hand, Siddharth Shankar. So, Praneeth, can you give him the unmute option, please?
Yeah, I've done it.
Sorry, I was waiting for someone else to raise their hands first, but no one else was. No, so I think what you've said is what we've also pivoted on, conducting online education sessions, keeping these students engaged and helping them improve as much as possible. But besides that, just trying to think, maybe clubs like Hyderabad FC, you've got access to so many players who are inspirations for these kids. And even we've got representatives from Borussia Dortmund here. So I think one important thing that a lot of such entities can do is actually conduct sessions where these players come online and inspire the kids to continue with the sport, keep going, conduct some skill sessions, because they get inspired by these players, right? So no matter how many education sessions and all we conduct, in the end, just some sessions from these inspirational players will make a lot of difference. So maybe activities like that would add a lot of value.
Can I come in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Shida. That's a good point. I think Hyderabad FC. I think Marcus may be waiting to speak. I think.
All right, it's all right.
Before Marcus give his good points, I just want to share that I think that's a good point. Maybe now I can't say for sure, but maybe if time permits, maybe we can specifically, do sort of, say, for example, one day can be, where we can bring our goalkeeper or goalkeeping coach, where they can, specifically for the goalkeepers, for example, or maybe, the qualities needed for maybe for a defender. That can be shown maybe to the young players, what are the qualities needed, and maybe in the video itself, maybe where I don't know whether it's possible, but maybe where they can show you, practically, how they do it. Maybe for midfielders, maybe for strikers, for example. So maybe these things in the future, maybe that's a good idea. It just came to my mind. For example, we have some experienced goalkeepers, maybe who can, if they have time permits, maybe they can just come in for half an hour, maybe, like for example, today we have, I think in the second part of the program, we have Katimani, who is a very experienced goalkeeper, played ISL and played a level of football in India. Maybe, he can share his thoughts that time too. You can ask him, or maybe we can call a striker. There might be players. India, we say that India needs strikers, so maybe we have to focus more on that, and maybe share some technical, sessions. If not in the ground, maybe some small space where we can the skills needed, specifically for the strikers. So just wanted to share that thought, that this thoughts came to me. Maybe we can do it in the future. We can discuss it further. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I can just add a couple of points here. So what we did, what I did as part, so we also conducted a few online sessions during the initial phase of the pandemic. As part of SheKicks, we launched a score from home kind of program. So I think one of the things that I noticed was, obviously after a point you can't physically make kids do a lot of things. But what I realized during that phase was, like Sir mentioned, Thangboy Sir mentioned, that these positional play, what do coaches expect from the players in these positions? What are your roles and responsibility in a team? What's a understanding the tactical aspect? How do you play 4-4-2? How do you switch the position to 4-3-3? What's your, as a winger, what's your duty when we are attacking? What's your duty when we are defending? So those are kind of like detailed things is what I started focusing more on. I think that was, and I realized that the kids really enjoyed that. They learned a lot from it. Similarly with goalkeepers, why do people say that more experienced goalkeepers are better for teams? What makes them better with experience? What adds to their what value do they add to their game? So those are the different factors, I think, which positional wise can be emphasized more on, considering these sessions are online, and I think that's the best use of the videos that you can pull out of YouTube. The different, like even in the midfield. So what's the duty of an attacking midfielder? What's the duty of the CDM? So those kind of different roles, what kind of different defenders or center backs you have. Yeah, so I think those are the couple of things that really worked when we were doing our online program.
Thanks for that. I think I was just trying to open up the conversation and just maybe shed light on the stuff that we've been doing in Just for Kicks, and maybe all the coaches here should pat themselves on the back. That I think we've been exploring the similar concepts like positional analysis, formations, tactics, even things like what are the qualities of a player, of an ideal team, and even things like decision making in football, like looking at a video and looking at, okay, what should this player have done in this situation? So I'm glad that we're doing that, but maybe going into the future, we'll be able to collaborate on this a little better, because I do feel that there is value in what students do at home right now, which could potentially help them when they get back on ground and in their teams. So that was my first point. I'll sort of just cover only the second point, which is just the socio-emotional part and the mental health part. Like we all know the impact of the pandemic. Mr. Thangboy also spoke about it. Just wanted to understand, like, how going into the future, are there any considerations that we need to make in terms of socio-emotional learning or mental health on the players? Have you, and this is a question for the panelists again, have you noticed any impact? How are we addressing this? When we do go back on ground, is it going to be business as usual? Do we need to add any support structures into the whole development of football. I think because we have seen the impact in our students, in our coaches, even me for that matter, and all of us sitting here. So I was just wondering that as a player, will the players be affected post the pandemic? Even if everyone is vaccinated, are there these residual mental health issues or socio-emotional support that people may need in the future? And is the football system kind of catering to that? Yeah, again, an open question that any of you can take.
Right. So if I can just share the as a player, my view and what I've noticed, because we were also in a bio bubble during the pandemic with the national team, and we'd just come out of our home quarantines, and so physically, I would say that it does have an impact because you've not been on the field, you've not trained at that intensity. So obviously, you have to take things slowly, and mentally also because you're used to a certain level of your game, right? And when you come back from a long break, it does affect you because you feel like I was able to do these things before, before everything happened, and why am I not able to perform at the same level right away? So it's just about with people who are experienced, who are old. They would like for me, I had to make myself understand that I need to give myself some time to get back into that same kind of rhythm. But I think with the youngsters, I think it's more importantly up to the coaches to make them understand and take things slowly. um, I think they would play a very very important role to make the kids understand. It is supposed to be taken slowly, and you don't have to overburden yourself mentally when you're back coming back on the pitch. I think yeah, that's the experience that I have had, and but I think everyone's looking forward to coming back on the field and back to things being normal. So I'm pretty excited about that, and but I think eventually everyone deals with it in whatever way they do, but I think it's just the important part has to be that we have to take things slowly and let people and let the kids explore themselves, take their time, because everybody will have their own sort of timing, and they would have their own system of getting back into the system. So we just have to be more understanding, more patient, as coaches or as kids, as players as well, because there are a lot of players listening as well. So I would only recommend and suggest that don't burden yourself, don't pressurize yourself, just take things slowly.
Yeah, Rishi, what you mentioned, right? Everyone across the spectrum has been affected by COVID, right? It's people. So organizations all over the world actually realize the importance of mental health for their employees. So the same applies for sports, and especially now in sports with the incidents with Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles, especially, it's under the spotlight. So I think for us, for example, we run academies in athletics in Odisha and football in Mumbai. We've also realize the importance. We've been doing a lot of activities to keep the kids engaged. It's very tough being in quarantine. What Aditi mentioned, imagine a kid 14, 15 years old being asked to be locked in a small room for 14, 15 days. It's very difficult. So I think everybody is getting more empathetic towards mental health. And in the future, what we need to do, and a lot of the coaches on this call, and I think organizations like yours have the responsibility to add elements of mental health in the grassroots coach development programs, because grassroots coaches are in a way all-rounders. They need to be all-rounders, right? They don't have the support of a nutritionist. They don't have the support of a psychologist. You don't have an entire team. So they need to know everything, and they play the most important role. So it's very important that mental health becomes a part of the grassroots coaching curriculum, and maybe at our friends from Germany could, where it's a little more evolved, could tell us or let us know if that's the case already there and what we could learn from them.
Yeah, thank you for those points. I'm sure everyone else has responses. Pooja has just told me we're running out of time. I think, yeah, definitely we're going to take that on. We've already tried to integrate that into the program. We're still working on it. Obviously, we're not the experts on mental health and well-being, but I think something that's really worked for us is just listening to the players, not only as players, but also as human beings. So understanding their context, their challenges. That's something that we've really stressed on in the last year. It's a challenge, and I think it's going to be a challenge going forward. It's not going to be a smooth transition and business as usual. So maybe just for all of us to keep that in mind. I will stop here. I think I've also given you insight into what we've been doing at Just for Kicks. Pooja, over to you.
Thanks, Rishi. Thank you so much for that. Without further ado, I think this is a good segue into our next panelist, who I'm very, very excited to
Pooja
introduce.
Tangboy sir had a point to make. Yes.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Okay. Just following to what Siddharth said, I think for the professional players, I think it is more easier to find people who are experts in dealing with this mental challenges. But I'm not really sure for the young kids, because which have a different approach to their mental mindset, whether we have competent enough people or psychologists, sports psychologists, specific sports psychologists, whether we have in India in numbers. I doubt. I'm not sure. I think very rightly, I think that is an area maybe we as coaches, whether you are coaching at any level, I think maybe that is an area where we need to focus and try to learn more, because until unless we have experts coming in, maybe it is the role of us, and especially the grassroots coaches. I personally believe if Indian football is to develop, Indian football is to go further, the most important people after the players is the grassroots coaches. Is the grassroots and the youth coaches, not the elite coaches, not the ISL, I-League coaches. They're not going to be, really helping. Of course, but the real players for Indian football to develop are the players, of course, and grassroots is growing, baby leagues are going. But do we have enough competent grassroots youth coaches who can take these talented youngsters of India, of our country to the next level? Maybe that is an area we have to work on. And also, of course, the psychological part becomes very important, because I think this problem is not easily going to go away for us. So us as coaches, we have to develop more, learn more about this, so that we can help the players. And for the grassroots, maybe the AIFF or the association like you, maybe try to bring out some sort of courses where coaches can learn from there. That's what I want to share here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Thangpoy there. Thank you, Rishi. Moving on to our next panelist for today. I'm very, very excited to introduce him. We have Mr. Marcus from Borussia Dortmund. He is the team lead of international activities from BVB. A bit about him: he has been a team and technical coach at various age levels in football before he started off his youth training engagement at BVB in 2012. He has worked with big clubs such as Bundesliga and Fulham FC as well. He is an expert in training and rehab concepts, and was also a coach of a performance team. I'm actually going to hand it off over to Mr. Marcus. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first of all, it's a very big pleasure to being part here at this panel discussion, talking about one of the most valuable things, I guess, we have on this earth, our children and our youth. And so therefore as well, our future is something very, very important. There were so many good information and good ideas given in the last few minutes from all the other guys. And now I'm very happy to continue to give you some insights, what we do here at Borussia Dortmund, how we see children and youth coaching, because it's so different from coaching and training adults. And this is what we have to keep in mind as a coach, especially as a children or youth coach. So we need to know who is in front of us. So we don't just take the player. We also need to know the person behind the player to figure out which coaching style, for example, is the best to get access to the players so that they can develop as good as possible. I want to share my screen now.
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay, perfectly. All right. So yeah, when we talk about youth development and the principles of coaching, as mentioned, not only the player is important, but also the person behind the player. Therefore, we take a serious look at different age groups because they have different development phases, cognitively, but also physically, and we have to take this into account when coaching them. So we'll give you some insights on our children football at BBB, as well as our youth coaching, and give you some ideas of our training concept at the end. Yes, first of all, when you talk about children football, it has to be child-friendly, but it has also to be professional. But professional in this case doesn't mean that we have to train like our professional players. Professional means that we have high professional standards. When teaching children...
I'm sorry, Marcus, if I could
yes,
stop right here. I think your screen is not visible at the moment.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Non-screen?
Yeah, I think you're presenting your screen, right? People aren't able to see it.
Okay. Not sure why. So I already have shared it.
Praneeth, can you take a look at this as well?
Okay, once again.
Yeah, now it's visible. Yeah.
All right. Sorry. Okay.
Now we can see your screen. You can,
Okay, perfectly. Yeah, sorry, was my bad. All right. So starting again, running quickly through the points. When you talk about youth training or children training, it's important that we take the person behind the play as well into account. So that's why we make a difference between children football, youth football, and later on adults football and adults training. At the end, I will give you some insights as well into our training concepts. So where we put a focus on in training and So when we talk about children football, we have to make sure that it's child friendly, the training we give, the way we coach, but that it's also professional. And professional does not mean that we have to train like our professional team and our professional coaches, but the standards we put in the training sessions and we have on our coaches is a high professional one. So teaching soccer skills is, of course, something we take into account, but to let the children experience football, to have them discovering a lot of different things is one of the main important things in our understanding of teaching such young grassroots kids or beginners, but also very talented kids. So they have to experience the game. They have to find solutions. They have to, let's say, on the difficulties they face. Of course, we as coaches, we help them in this case. We are somehow the supporters, but not only the teachers. So at the end, it's a problem-solving coaching style we believe in. So that they experience, they have a problem, and we help them to solve this problem. But at the end, they have to do it on their own. Furthermore, we teach them a lot of social values and skills so that they are becoming more, let's say, self-confident in what they do. Of course, they become more self-confident when they know what they do is right or it works out. But this takes time. Children develop so differently in a different way. Sometimes things happen faster. Sometimes they develop a little bit slower. So we have a high responsibility as coaches, but we also take the children and make sure that they take responsibility over themselves, but also over their teammates, for example. So it's not only that we're focusing on every single player, but also on the team. So we have to make sure that we have two separate things. One is, let's say, individualization, but it doesn't mean that they have to. It's not being selfish as a player, but they have to care about themselves. and then taking all the responsibility as well over other teammates is something which we need in soccer and football, because it is a sport of many interactions. And yeah, when we coach, and this is what Mr. Singh also underlined and pointed out, is it has to be joyful. So every single training session has to start with a smile and has to end with a smile of the children. And when they want to come back into your training session, when they really enjoy it, then it's the best way of developing and learning. Because when something makes fun, then I learn better. It's that's a really easy let's say calculation, or All right. When we take a look more into our youth, older age groups, then it is a very challenging phase. Because of their development, they are on the way from children to becoming adolescents and young adults. But this is as well a phase with a lot of chances. Of course, we know a challenging phase it is, because they find their own identity. They want to be independent. They want to be different to adults. Sometimes it's really difficult for coaches to get access to the players. But in this area, they are very sensitive to of our impact we give them as coaches. So there's a high chance to bring them on the right way on their personal and personality development. In this age group, they try, as I mentioned, to find their own identity. They do have their own binding norms and values, for example. But in this case, we as coaches are the key. And this is also something which was pointed out, I think as well from Mr. Singh too. Here in Dortmund, the coach is one of the most important factor for the players. Yes, of course, the parents as well. And we are also involving the parents, but we make sure and clear until which border or which line the parents can support, and at which time the coach is the main person for the players. So we don't want to have parents as a second coach or as an assistant coach. They have to know their role. So we involve them. We have let's say meetings with the parents to figure out their role, to support the children and the youth as best as they can. What's special as well in this age group, children or youth in that case, they want to participate more than they maybe did in younger ages. What do I mean with that? They have their own ideas. They want to do something maybe which is outstanding. Sometimes it helps, but sometimes we have to catch them before they, let's say, run away. And this is extremely challenging for coaches, because every youth is different, and every player, every person is different. And to know your players, to know the person behind the player, is a key to get the access to the player and to his or her development. Another big challenge is the heterogeneity. So meaning they develop differently physically and mentally. And to figure this out helps the coach to develop the players as best as they can do. To give you now insights on our training concept, you're maybe wondering or asking yourself why you see some little pictures of a guy or person who's playing tennis or doing skiing or cycling, dancing. Why I show you those pictures? Because it's not only about football, it's not only about soccer. We want to have and train real movement talents. A lot of different motor skills are the basis, the foundation for later peak performances and for their entire development. especially when we talk about young children, we as coaches, we have a big eye on multiple movements. So we play lots of handball games, for example, catching or tagging games, to make sure that they experience a lot of different moves, because those will help them in learning the techniques better in future, or in their entire development. So we have to create the conditions for learning complex technical skills, to conclude that. Going on, now it's really interesting when you have never teach really young children. You have to know that you sometimes have to be a little bit like an actor. It doesn't mean that you're not authentic, because as a coach you definitely have to be authentic, but you have to, let's say, talk about things you would never talk about with older players. So, for example, talking about or telling a story, a little history while you train them. So when they dribble through a big forest, for example, there are many cones, but to give the players the imagination of a forest, and there are so many trees, and I have to move around every single tree, is something they really enjoy, they really love. And this is what we do, for example, as coaches when we coach really young children. But what is more important than something like that or exercises is that they play football. And that's why here is written, love of football is playing football. We do this in this age with really small groups, so that the children have as many ball touches as possible. Of course, we are also doing things without ball, but this is not just running. This is then a tagging game, for example, or other competitions where they have to run fast, for example, like a tic-tac-toe. Maybe you have seen this on a YouTube channel, this exercise, which makes it really fun for the children. Yeah, so if there are any questions later on, I'm happy to answer. I'm not running through every single point right now. As a conclusion, I want to give you some general principles we wrote down for all of our coaches. It shows on one side how we want to coach children and youth players, and on the other side where we think this is not the right way to do so. We are very successful with that. It doesn't mean that we are not open-minded. We are definitely open-minded for new ideas, new ways to develop ourselves as well as coaches and as a club. But all the experiences from the last years in our youth development and our training system show that we are on a very good way to develop the best players, to make the best player, or to make the player as best as he can be. And this is the aim at the end. Some will be professionals, some not. And therefore, and this was also mentioned today, a holistic approach is so important. So we care about the football development. We care about the social development, meaning personality development, but also about their school education. And to combine everything is really tough. It's really hard, but it's possible. Also during this pandemic time. And I'm happy to right now, afterwards, in terms of finding solutions, for example, during this pandemic. But for now, I want to say Dhanyavad.
Thank you so much, Marcus. Dhanyavad for that as well. In the interest of time, what we'd like to do is please keep your questions noted. We'll have all our panelists speak, and then you can post your questions in the chat box and we'll take them. To all the coaches and staff, please do let your students know that we're running a bit over time. So they could wait for a bit. They will have to wait for a bit in the waiting room as we move into the next section. Okay, thank you so much, Marcus. Thank you for that. Now we'd like to move on to Aditi Chauhan, who is actually the founder of She Kicks and the goalkeeper of the Indian national women's football team. Thank you so much, Aditi, for taking the time out to be a part of this virtual event, and moreover, for being a source of inspiration to so many young girls out there. Over to you, Aditi.
Thanks, Pooja. Thanks for the introduction. And a big hello to everyone who's listening here. I see a lot of girls here, which is always really nice to see that. Well, I mean, I'm here and on the international okay. International Youth Day. I just want to share my experience. I don't have anything a lot to say, but I think the most important thing is I can just share my journey. And maybe that can be a source of inspiration for a lot of young girls and boys who are listening here, and to the coaches as well. So while growing up, I didn't have access to a lot of and this, I think, a lot of the kids who are listening would also agree and share this, that I, being a girl, didn't have a place to train and to go regularly and train throughout the year, where I could, work on my skill development. I can work on my basics. I was always interested and passionate about sports, but football came quite late in my career. So obviously, like it does to a lot of kids in India, we start playing football very late, like Sir also mentioned in his bit. And but as soon as I started playing, that was the moment I fell in love with the game, and I stopped playing all the other sports and just completely focused on one sport. And that, I think, was very important, while also maintaining my education, because I come from a military background, and I was made very clear that you can play as much as you want, as long as you maintain your academic scores and you do well in studies. And for me, if that was the only criteria for me to keep playing and be on the field every day, then I would do that happily. So for me, that was the trade-off. But I'm glad my parents emphasized, and they were very clear about that. Although at that point, when you're a kid, you always feel like, why do I have to do this? And why can't I just focus on playing? That's my career. That's what I want to be focusing on. That's what I want to do in the future. But later on, believe me, now that I'm a little older and wiser, I'm glad that they had that clarity in their head for whatever reason, and they made sure that I followed that, and I happily did that, and it never felt like a burden to me, because when I was playing, I could play freely without anything in my mind. I would give my 100% on the pitch, and when I'm studying, my entire focus is on study. So even if I just study for 1 hour or 1.5 hours, I would give my 100% there. And I could manage my studies. There's a saying in India, and I think a lot of parents or kids also believe, that you can either choose between studies or sports, but which I have done it, and I know that that's not true. You don't really have to make that choice between the two. It both can go hand in hand. It's all about setting your priorities. It's about choosing what to do when. I think that's the only decision that we have to make. Obviously, you have to make a lot of other sacrifices, which I did as well. I sacrificed my social life, because as a kid, you have to balance a lot of things. So I had to sacrifice my social life, but I gladly did that, because I got to play. I got that extra hour to play on the field. So that happened. Well, I have been given a talking point about talking about the women's football structure in India, which unfortunately we don't have a lot to talk about, because there's no not a very structured pathway for girls to play football, for girls to take it up as a profession. And it's unfortunate that it's still not existing in India. We still don't have a fully professional environment where a girl can take up football as a profession or as a career. But I'm very positive, and I know that there are big events lined up for India, for the national team. We also have the professional league now slowly shaping up. So there is a structure coming in place, but obviously a lot of work needs to be done, and that work needs to come in from all of us, all the members of this ecosystem. Not just we can't just sit back and think AIFF ka duty hai that they will have to set up the league, and they will have to make this environment and structure it. We all have to contribute, from clubs from ISL clubs like Hyderabad FC, and that is the reason why I pointed out in the initial conversation, because I think one of the most important thing is to talk about it on platforms like this. I think that's the biggest start, and something that we really need to do is to talk about women's football on every platform. Whenever we're talking about football, it has to be both, and we don't have to distinguish between men's football and women's football. It has to be football as a whole. We need to grow together. And I think that was the reason why I pointed out and had that question for Thongwei sir. So coming to what my role and what I've been able to do is, while I was studying, while I was playing, I slowly somehow managed to be a part of the national team and I started off when I didn't even know that there's a women's national team of India, and that's also something that you could do. While I was playing, things just opened up, and obviously I did a lot of hard work was put into it. A lot of things that people don't realize. They just see the outer thing where you're getting to play for the national team, or I went abroad to play for West Ham, but the work that went behind it was a lot, a lot of sacrifices, a lot of effort. And I did all of that on my own. There was no one leading, no one showing me or giving me a direction of this is also a possibility. You can go abroad. And so what I did was I wanted to study sports management, because I realized that there's a lot of potential in women's football and sports in India. And this was back in 2010 when sports industry wasn't really something, or it wasn't really an industry in India. So I decided that sports is my passion. I wanted to do something in sports even after I stopped playing. So I decided to go to Loughborough University to study, and that's how I got a chance. Got an internship in London at Decathlon. Started looking for clubs around where I stayed, and that's how I ended up at West Ham, which was a third division club back then. And unfortunately, in my second season of West Ham, I got my ACL injury. And I thought, that, and I had everything planned. As a player, when you're excited, you're getting an opportunity, you feel like now you give your 100% and everything will be sorted. You'll have a lot of options, a lot of opportunities. And I was very excited about it. But unfortunately, I got my ACL injury, which is like a 9. So basically for a year, you're out. And coming back to India, there was no structure here. So that was a very, very difficult phase for me. But at that moment, what I realized was I have two options: either just crib about it and be sad about it. That one of the thought was also that this could be the end of my playing career. But that was not in my control. The only thing in my control was to come out of it in whatever and however I can. So while I was doing my rehab, that's how I came up with She Kicks, which the idea behind it was whatever I was missing when I was growing up, no structure, no platform for girls. I thought, this is probably one of my responsibilities to provide that in whatever small capacity I can. To the young girls, young kids for the future, just help them with the knowledge and experience that I've gained through all the experiences, and make it a little bit easier for for the girls in the future. So that is what I mean. When you're a youngster, especially in today's generation and today's world, when you have access to so many facilities and so much of knowledge and resources out there on the net, you can literally do anything that you are determined to do. So and I think today's youth are very resilient. They don't take no for an answer, and that's the best thing about our youth. We find a way to achieve whatever we want to. That's something that I did in my career, and that's what I've been doing, trying to grow She Kicks and basically provide this platform for more and more girls to come out and play. Because we all know, I think all the kids here who are playing football would also agree that it's more than just a sport. You learn so many values. You build your characteristic through this sport, and which is very, very important especially for girls in India. It gives you a voice, it gives you a confidence that nothing else, no studies, no education can give you. So that's something that I've experienced firsthand. That's what I want to inculcate and promote more of through this setup and through this initiative of She Kicks. And at the end, I would just say that I really hope that all the girls and all the kids who are listening here continue their journey in whatever way you can. It's going to be full of challenges. You don't ever think that it's going to be easy anyway. But the only thing that you need to be clear about is what your priorities are, what's your focus, and then you'll be able to deal with anything that comes your way. So that is all that I can share, and I hope I see a lot of you girls and boys in the national team in the future. And I hope that you become not just as national team players, but I think it's more important for you to be a part of the change, and contribute in bringing that change in whatever you see in your in your locality, in your around you. You become a source of change to bring that positivity around you. So that is all I can say, and I'll leave you to that.
Thank you so much, Aditi. I hope she has inspired many of the girls and youngsters to actually participate and take up football as a career. Next up, we have Siddharth from Reliance Foundation. He has had 13 plus years of experience in the sports industry. Just a quick time check. We're running way over time at this point of time, and we do have the players coming in next. So if we could do a quick, Siddharth, if you could take the next 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll take quick questions from the coaches as well as the media, and then move on to the players and the student interaction as well. Thanks. Over to you, Siddharth.
Sure. Thanks first for having me here on behalf of Reliance Foundation. Just before I start talking about what we do and all, I just want to pose a quick trivia question. If people can post their answers in between, and I'll get to it later. It's a trick question. The question is, in the 2016 Olympics and in the 2020 Olympics, who stood 7th? Okay, so that's the question. I'll come to it in a couple of minutes. Sanji's laughing because he's already heard that question somewhere else. No. Yeah, when I was asked to be a part of this talk, I actually started wondering about the link between youth and sports. I've never thought about it in detail as much. Even our initiative is called Reliance Foundation Youth Sports, and the ministry is called the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. So that's when I really realized that there's a strong linkage between youth development and sports. And when we speak about this linkage, the first thought that comes to our mind is that it's about making a career as an athlete, but it goes much beyond it. And I think a lot of us have touched on it on today's conversation. Sport builds character. Sport builds a lot of skills that go beyond sport, right? It's about team skills, leadership skills, responsibility towards the community. So everyone here who, like me, for example, who was not good enough as a sports person, but sports still had a major role to play in who we are right now. And, just to quote a survey which was done by Ernst & Young in the US, out of 400 female corporate executives, 61% actually said that because of sport is where they are in their careers right now. And even in terms of the study that was done by in the US among NCAA athletes, they found that athletes who participate in sport tend to make it to college more, perform well in college and get high grades. So, there's been studies and researchers which have demonstrated the power of sport in just developing a human being. So for all the kids coaches on this call, it's not just, don't think that you should stop pursuing sport just because you've not been able to make it as an athlete. Sport has much more to add to your life. So keep continuing. Having said that, for us, one of the main areas where we think youth can be impacted is through the education system. We believe in the importance of the school and college system in developing youth and sports, and that's the key focus area of what we do at Reliance Foundation Youth Sports. Now coming to the question that I had, I said it was a trick question. The answer is in 2016 it was Stanford University, and in 2021 it was Stanford University and the University of Southern California. They actually won 26 and 21 medals respectively, won 11 gold medals. Considering how many medals the other countries have won, including us, and the struggle that we see, you can see the immense power that the US education system has in developing sport. And that's the importance that we've also realized as Reliance Foundation, and something that we are looking at developing very strongly. So what we're looking at doing is empowering these schools and colleges to become the next Stanfords and the USCs of India, producing transformational talent that can go ahead and represent our country and make us proud in international competitions like the Olympic Games. We conduct an inter-school, inter-college competition that's covered more than 10,000 schools and colleges across the country. We've had 150,000 athletes participate in our competitions in football and athletics. But it's beyond that. It's about developing the entire ecosystem. So areas like coach development, areas like development of infrastructure, and more importantly, what a couple of people, including Aditi, you mentioned about the support of parents, right? So engaging the key stakeholders. How do we engage the community more? How do we get them to support more? So I was just doing some research before this, and apparently a college football game, the record for attendance in a college football game in the US is 115,000, 115,000. Can you imagine the kind of support and the followership that even college football is seeing in countries like the US? That's where we as Reliance Foundation actually want to get to. So we see our role as enablers. We see our role as providing the opportunity so that athletes like Aditi in the future don't have to struggle to find a pathway towards establishing a career in sport. And that's something that we've been doing by establishing children's leagues at the grassroots levels to youth sport competitions. So following the pathway that Marcus was presenting, 6 to 12 years, conducting children's league where kids just participate more and more, develop their motor skills, and then developing competitions where talent is spotted, and then developing high performance academies where these kids are then identified and provided a career opportunity. So I'm happy to, for example, state that last year, from our academy's first graduating batch, 9 out of the 10 athletes received contracts from the Indian Super League club. So that's kind of the pathway and opportunity that we're trying to create. And Aditi, for us, women's sport and girls sport is going to be a big focus area also in the future. So we hope to interact and work with you as well in the future. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Siddharth. Thank you so much. So next up, we're actually going to take any questions that coaches have for any of our panelists here. Please post them in the chat and we'll take them up. Again, due to the interest of time, I may not be able to take everyone's question, but I will try to take as many questions as I can. Please, while you're mentioning this, just mention the panelist's name along with the question in the chat box, and I'll ensure that we're able to communicate the same. Also, thank you to all the media for sending in their questions. Due to lack of time, we'll take the media questions and have the answers sent to you directly. Do we have any coach questions coming up? How many hours is this? Who is this a question for? Shiv Shankar has a question. Okay, I see a few of our students have questions. Mr. Thangbo, if you would like to answer, how many hours can we practice in a day for improvement?
I think these questions will be very nicely answered by the parents themselves. It is how much time they give you. But I think in a day, it's not about the hours, it's about the quality, what you do. You can be playing unorganizedly, in an unorganized way for maybe 3-4 hours, but that might not help. So if I think, for example, just for your comparisons, we at the senior level, the first team, we trained max 1 hour 30 minutes. 90 minutes is or 75 minutes is the max, but that relates to the quality. So it depends upon, of course, it depends upon the numbers you have in a team or in a squad. I think if you plan well, and like planning again, I come back to planning. It depends upon the coaches, but every day, I think apart from education, if you can spare at least 1.5 hours, I think that is more than enough.
Thank you, Mr. Thankboy. So that's 1.5 hours every day should be good enough for practice. Do we have any other questions in terms of from coaches? Okay, we have a question from Anand to both Mr. Marcus and Mr. Thangboy. What's the frequency of practice games for under 8 to under 12 kids? Either one of you could go.
Yeah, I can jump in. So is a frequency meaning how many hours per practice or per exercise, and then going into the next small-sided game, for example. So at least it depends on how many children you coach. If it's a 1-on-1, if it's 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, for example. So it should be intense, but the duration shouldn't be too long. So we have to give the children as well time to recover. Children usually like small and fast situations. But to keep in mind, usually they are really good in endurance. But that's not what they like. They like the fast and quick exercises and games. But let me get again into the question. Frequency of practice games. So we train in 3 times per week, having 1 or 2 games or tournaments on weekend with our under 9s to under 11s. Under 12s, they sometimes train 4 times a week, usually 90 minutes. And in every single training session, there are games, small-sided games. So we don't have any training session without games. So we play a lot of small-sided games. Of course, as well, exercises are a part of the training, but the children experience most in a small-sided game. You have everything in this. You can have different rules, for example, which focusing more on dribbling, for example, or more on shooting. So this is up to the coach. This is something you can handle. But let's conclude my answer in if you have the opportunity to play as many games as you can, so then do.
Just to quickly add on that, in support of the young players, all the players here, I think the coaches should remember that when there is a game, I think the most important factor is that they get equal opportunity to play games. It's not that, the good players play and maybe not the so good players get less time. As far as possible, which is difficult sometimes, but as far as possible, we should make an effort to give equal playing time to all the kids.
Yeah, very good point, Mr. Singto, very good point. Same we do here. And we don't have position specifics in younger ages. So they play nearly the same time, and they play, let's say when they play 3/3, sometimes we play 3 times 20 minutes. They play at least on 2 different positions. So to experience and discover this position, and you have different responsibilities on those positions, and this is what they have to learn and have to deal with, because we believe in that this will help them later for their entire game understanding.
Got it. Thank you so much, Mr. Thangbo and Mr. Marcus. I think just one more question on that note. How many matches do they play a year, Marcus? The 8 to 12 age range. This is a question from Rishi, post which we'll have to close the floor for questions, given that we have to move to the next round of our session.
Okay, so how many matches they have during a season?
Yeah, I think the 8 to 12 age range. How many matches do they play a year?
A year. All right, it's hard to say actually. We do have 4 weeks break from one season to the other season. Then we have a winter break, but as they play many tournaments in this age level, you can't really count every single game. But usually, as mentioned, they do have at least one game each weekend. Sometimes they have a tournament over 2 days, so on Saturday and Sunday, for example, or they have a match on Saturday and a small tournament on Sunday. But yeah, nearly every week, to say that. There are maybe just eight weeks in total without playing football. But this is also important to mention, we give them space to recover as well mentally. So in other countries, sometimes they train 5 days per week and 2 hours in these young ages. And that doesn't make sense in our opinion. So 3 times is very good. They need to have time for their families, for their friends, to meet them, to do other things beside football, because then they come back to football and they are so full of power and of fun of playing the sport again. So it's a good. You need a good balance between the mental, let's say mental. It's not ability, but it's how to say it. Yeah, sorry about that. It's they need to recover mentally as well. So you can't overload them, not only physically.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering the questions. I'm so sorry that I can't take the remaining questions at this point of time due to the interest of time. Thank you, Mr. Thangboy. Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Aditi. Thank you, Mr. Marcus. And thank you, Rishi, for actually taking out the time to talk to us and our coaches. For any questions that we do have, we hope that we can send them across to you and they can be taken offline. And have a great day, all of you. We're going to move into the next section, but before that, I'd like to just thank the panelists once again. Thank you so much. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you very much, Pooja. That was a lot of information from a lot of people who have a lot of knowledge about the industry and how everything works. Thank you very much. That was a very enlightening first session. And as the students start filtering in and our Zoom session just gets bigger and bigger now that the coaches and students are both here, we would like to turn our focus to having interactions with current players from the Hyderabad Football Club. Good evening, all students who are joining us now. Good evening to all of you. शुक्रिया आप सबने टाइम निकाला आज आने के लिए. थैंक यू वेरी मच आने के लिए. आपका जो सेशन है और जो हमारा नेक्स्ट सेशन है, इसमें हम हैदराबाद एफसी जो इंडियन सुपर लीग का एक क्लब है, इंडियन सुपर लीग बीइंग द प्रीमियर डिवीजन ऑफ फुटबॉल इन इंडिया, उसके हम 3 दिग्गज प्लेयर, 3 प्लेयर्स फ्रॉम द स्टार्टिंग स्क्वाड, उनके साथ हमें कॉन्वर्सेशन करेंगे. अभी वो लोग यहाँ पे आए हैं आपको अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस और जर्नी के बारे में बताने के लिए और आपको हौसला देने के लिए कि ताकि आप बेहतर इंसान बन पाओ, बेहतर फुटबॉलर बन पाओ और आप फुटबॉल प्रैक्टिस ढंग से कर पाओ आने वाले साल में. हमारे बीच में एक और इंसान है, अंजलि. अब मैं अंजलि को होस्ट करने के लिए बुलाऊंगा. She is going to take us through these conversations with the current players of Hyderabad FC, talking about their experiences and talking about other aspects of being a professional footballer. Over to you, Anjali.
थैंक यू सो मच भैया. हेलो एवरीवन, मेरा नाम अंजलि तिवारी है और मैं 12th ग्रेड में हूँ. मैं भी आप सबके जैसा JFK में फुटबॉल खेलना शुरू किया था एंड नाउ करेंटली आई वर्क एज अ फुटबॉल कोच इन एनुअल लीडरशिप. ओके, नॉट वेस्टिंग मच टाइम ऑफ योर्स, लेट अस स्टार्ट. ठीक है, हम शुरू करते हैं. आई एम श्योर ऑल ऑफ यू आर वेरी एक्साइटेड टू मीट द हीरोज ऑफ हैदराबाद FC and know a little bit more about their story. Today, we have got 3 extremely talented and inspiring sport person with us. First, we have Chilan Sana Bhaiya. Second, Aniket Bhaiya. Third, Lakshmikant Bhaiya. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So let us start with the defensive wall of Hyderabad FC. The man who made his debut for Indian international team this year. Please welcome Chilan Sana Bhaiya. Okay. I think you all can hear me, right? I'm sorry, I just lost connection.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I'm so sorry. All right. Good evening, Bhaiya.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. Okay. My question for you is, Bhaiya, क्या आप अपने जर्नी के बारे में थोड़ा सा शेयर कर सकते हैं हमसे? Also, 3 most important part of your journey.
I would say I started off in Manipur, but then football here, it's a culture here in football, in terms of football, you know, so it's easy for me, but then to get the family support and everything is really hard. So in India, the football now has grown a lot, but at my time, it was very difficult, you know, to convince my parents to become a footballer and all this stuff. But yeah, you know, something that is hard to achieve, it's fun to achieve when when you get through that phase. And that is something I think it's more easier now due to the Indian Super League and the Indian national team doing well. So it's much easier now. Football has grown leaps and bounds in the country. So it's very good for the coming generation to become a player. But in my days, those are the things, those are the hurdles that we had to come through. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not that easy, right? Now it seems after becoming a player, everybody wants to look at you and be one. But the story but then the struggle you have been through, definitely that is not easy. And I mean, is there any messages or is there anything you want to tell to the young players who are out in the room here?
I would tell them that believe in yourself, keep working hard, be humble, and dream big. Aim for the you have to believe in yourself. No matter what, you can't doubt yourself. And at the same time, you need to be disciplined. You need to work very, very hard to reach to the top. It's not easy at all, and there's a lot of competition. And to be part of an Indian Super League, to be part of the Indian team, it's a dream. But it's not easy to get there. So you have to be extraordinary to get there, and you have to work really, really hard. And you have to make a lot of sacrifices. And trust me, there will be a lot of failures, a lot of rejections, and a lot of highs and lows, but you need to face that strongly. And you need to, as I said, you need to believe in yourself no matter what, at any point of time. And you need to keep working hard, and you will get success if you keep going at it. That's what I would tell them.
Thank you so much, Bhaiya. I think I personally learn a lot of, and then I think all of us kids are having so much to learn from you. Now, right now, a senior player who shared about his journey, let us hear from the young players. We also have Aniket Bhaiya with us. He's one of the young players who played in FIFA Under-17 and made our country proud. Aniket Bhaiya?
Hello.
Hi, Bhaiya. Okay.
Hi,
Good evening,
how are you?
Bhaiya. I am good. How are you, Bhaiya?
I am good.
Also, Bhaiya, it would be great if you can mix up Hindi and English as well. Okay? Because
sure.
Okay? Thank you, Bhaiya. Also, before asking my question, I would like to congratulate all of you for achieving all those great things in life.
Thank you so much.
I think all of us in the room just want to hear from you about how did you feel when you got selected to represent our country at such a young age.
Actually, वो मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी थी कि इंडियन नेशनल टीम के लिए खेलने के लिए, और आपको सबको पता ही है अंडर 17 वर्ल्ड कप जो होने वाला था, वो काफी सब लोग एक्साइटेड थे उस टूर्नामेंट के लिए, और वो टीम में मेरा सिलेक्शन हुआ तो काफी मैं एक्साइटेड था कुछ इंडियन नेशनल टीम के लिए अच्छा करने के लिए।
दैट इज ग्रेट। ऑल्सो भैया हम जानना चाहते हैं कि मतलब हाउ डिड यू फील जब आप पहली बार प्रोफेशनल टीम में खेले, तो आपको कैसा लगा? और या
तो एक्चुअली जब मैं पुणे में था तो मैं बॉल बॉय था, तो मेरा मेरा एक ड्रीम था कि इंडियन सुपर लीग में मैं खेलूं, और जब मुझे अपॉर्चुनिटी मिला जमशेदपुर एफसी की तरफ से खेलने के लिए इंडियन सुपर लीग में, तो काफी मैं एक्साइटेड था, और जो जो मैंने हार्ड वर्क किया था वो मुझे दिखाने का मौका मिला, तो काफी मैं खुश था।
ऑलराइट, थैंक यू सो मच भैया। आई थिंक ऑल ऑफ हम सब बच्चे बस मतलब हम सबका एक बार ड्रीम है कि हम भी रिप्रेजेंट करें, एंड आई थिंक यू आर वन ऑफ द इंस्पिरेशन दैट वी ऑल आर लुकिंग फॉरवर्ड टू। Our next panelist is a goalkeeper who has been around for a very long and is Mr. Safe Hands for Hyderabad Football Club.
Anjali,
Can we?
Anjali,
Yes, भैया।
अनफॉर्चुनेटली लक्ष्मीकांत कटिमनी सर का कुछ इशू हो गया इंटरनेट के साथ, तो वो आज हमको ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाएंगे।
ओके,
नो प्रॉब्लम।
या
अब मैं फिर टेक ओवर करके नेक्स्ट सेक्शन में ले जाता हूँ।
चलेगा, वर्क।
Thank you very much, Anjali, for your question. Now, Singlansana and Aniket, मेरे पास एक सवाल था आप दोनों से पूछने के लिए। आप दोनों स्पोर्ट्समैन हैं जिन्होंने इंडिया को इतने हाई लेवल पे रिप्रेजेंट किया है। अभी जब आपने नीरज चोपड़ा और दूसरे हमारे स्पोर्ट्समैन को देखा जिन्होंने ओलंपिक्स पे इतना अच्छा परफॉर्म किया, उन्होंने मेडल्स लाए, नीरज चोपड़ा तो स्पेशली गोल्ड मेडल, तो क्या आप कुछ बता सकते हैं क्या सिमिलैरिटीज है बिटवीन फुटबॉल और अदर स्पोर्ट्स जो सब लोग यहाँ पे फॉलो कर सकते हैं ताकि वो इतने हाई लेवल पे खेल पाए और आपके तरह सक्सेस और अदर स्पोर्ट्समैन की तरह देश के लिए सक्सेस ला पाए?
मेरा भाई अनिकेत बोलेगा। कौन अनिकेत?
भाई आप बोलो।
भाई आई थिंक संदीप भाई, आई थिंक द सिमिलैरिटी यही है कि एज अ स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन सबको सेक्रीफाइस करना पड़ता है, इन टर्म्स ऑफ डाइट, स्लीपिंग हैबिट्स, डिसिप्लिन, डाइट, न्यूट्रिशन, एंड बिसाइड्स दैट इवन पर्सनली बहुत कुछ on other things. So when then you feel proud about what you have achieved. At the same time, it's worth the sacrifice that you have made in your life, तो मेरे हिसाब से शायद यही सिमिलैरिटी है कि हर एक स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन में एक डिसिप्लिन होना जरूरी है, और then you need to believe in yourself, the targets that you have set for yourself, what you want to achieve. ये सब चीजें एक सिमिलैरिटी है कि as a sports person I would say that's something that every sports person has is to achieve his targets, his dreams, and to have a strong belief in himself and the willpower to do it. Yeah.
अनिकेत, आपके कोई थॉट्स इस सवाल पे?
डिसिप्लिन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, तो
अनिकेत आपका आवाज नहीं आ रहा है।
हेलो, कैन यू हियर मी नाउ?
यस, वी कैन हियर यू नाउ।
हाँ, तो वही मैं बता रहा था कि लाइक जैसे भाई ने बताया कि लाइक डिसिप्लिन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, तो यही मैटर करता है कि लाइक खुद पे ज्यादा बिलीव रखना बहुत मैटर करता है। लाइक जो भी है लाइक हम कर सकते हैं ऐसा, लाइक खुद को मोटिवेशन करके जो भी है वो डिसिप्लिन के साथ करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। अनिकेत, ये सवाल आपके लिए। जैसे आप अभी बताया अंजलि ने हमको, आप अंडर 17 वर्ल्ड कप खेले थे इंडिया के लिए। मैं भी स्टेडियम में आया था, मैंने भी जब नेशनल एंथम सुना सब कुछ, इट वाज जस्ट रोंगटे खड़े हो गए थे उस टाइम पे टू सी इंडिया द वर्ल्ड स्टेज। मूविंग फॉरवर्ड, आपको क्या लगता है इंडिया में जो यूथ फुटबॉल है, जो इन्वेस्टमेंट हो रही है रिलायंस, आईएसएल, अदर एरिया से, क्या है, व्हाट इज Indian youth football? What is the future hold for Indian youth football and how can it just improve?
लाइक जैसे देख रहा हूँ मैं, काफी ब्राइट फ्यूचर है जो इंडियन फुटबॉल्स में, जो भी यंग प्लेयर्स है। लाइक आप देख रहे हो अभी इंडियन सुपर लीग में भी काफी यंग प्लेयर्स लाइक डेब्यू कर रहे हैं और अच्छा परफॉर्मेंस भी दे रहे हैं। और जैसे देख सकते क्या, हमारे हैदराबाद टीम में भी काफी यंग प्लेयर्स है, सब यंग स्क्वाड है, और ज्यादा से ज्यादा प्लेयर्स लोग को नेशनल कॉल, टीम के लिए कॉल आया है। तो यही है कि लाइक जो फ्यूचर है वो ब्राइट है, और रिलायंस भी अच्छा सपोर्ट कर रहा है सबको। तो मेरे हिसाब से लाइक कि इंडियन फुटबॉल में काफी डेवलपमेंट और अचीवमेंट्स होने वाले हैं नेक्स्ट अपकमिंग ईयर्स में।
थैंक यू वेरी मच। चिंगलन साना सर, आप मतलब आप अभी आपने इंडिया डेब्यू भी किया इस साल, क्या लग रहा है इंडियन फुटबॉल क्या है हमारा सीलिंग? सीलिंग तो कुछ होना नहीं चाहिए, बट हम कहाँ तक पहुंच सकते हैं, क्या कर, किस चीज के लिए हम ड्रीम कर सकते हैं इंडियन फुटबॉल?
India is a huge country, brother, huge country, and it deserves the best of everything. And we as players, हम लोग कोशिश कर रहे हैं, and we believe the thing that is very positive now is that the younger generation, the players that are now in the national team, believes in ourselves, believe in you know, we know that we can do better, and we have started doing things as a professional, you know, a proper how a professional footballer has to behave, has to eat, has to, you know. So it's good, and it's on the right direction. And as Aniket said, that the future is very bright, and we are all very excited. And the player that is now with the national team are very ambitious, and we have big dreams, we have big targets to achieve, and we all believe in it. And that's the main thing, you know. Without any belief, nothing is, I mean, it's not going to happen. So we believe and we work hard for it, and I'm sure we will take Indian football to greater heights. And it's very, very exciting times ahead, I would say. And it's on the right direction, and it's work in progress, I would say.
Thank you very much. I think Mr. Singto has a question for the two of you.
Hello, Gaffer. How are you?
Yeah. Thank you, Sana. Thank you, Sandeep. Hi, Aniket.
हाय कोच, हाउ आर यू?
फेस टू फेस मिला नहीं, लेकिन चलो इसमें मुलाकात हो गया, अच्छा हो गया एक तरफ से।
हाँ जी।
नहीं संदीप, मैं कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ, सना और अनिकेत से नहीं, वो तो हमारे बात सुन के पक गए होंगे, लेकिन हमारे जो प्लेयर्स, हमारे जो बच्चे हैं, हमारे जो प्लेयर्स है, वो उन लोगों को मैं कुछ बताना चाहता हूँ कि ये जो आईएसएल प्लेयर्स है, सना और अनिकेत है, इन लोग का जो अभी सबसे बड़ा काम है, इन लोग को अच्छा ट्रेनिंग करना, अच्छा सोना, अच्छा खाना, अच्छा रेस्ट करके, ताकि उन लोग अच्छा ट्रेनिंग कर सके, अच्छा खेल सके। लेकिन हमारे बच्चे जिस अभी ये जो हमारे प्रोग्राम में है, आप अभी स्टूडेंट हो, तो आपका कर्तव्य बनता है, सबके सबसे जरूरी काम आपका है स्टडीज। स्पोर्ट्स तो आपको खेलना ही है, लेकिन उसके लिए आपको ठीक समय, ठीक टाइम निकालना होगा। जैसा इन लोग हमारे स्टार्स लोग, हैदराबाद के स्टार्स लोग उन लोग करते हैं, समय पे सोना, समय पे खाना, समय पे सब कुछ टाइम के टाइम करते हैं। तो आप लोग के लिए, आप लड़की बच्चे हैं या लड़के बच्चे हैं, आप बहुत जरूरी है कि आप जो करते हो सही के टाइम किया। आपको ये मम्मी पापा आपको बताना नहीं चाहिए कि आपको अभी और जाके पढ़ो। आपको अपने ऊपर विश्वास करके, जैसे सना ने कहा, अपने टाइम निकालना है, पढ़ाई के टाइम पे पढ़ाई करना है, गेम के टाइम पे गेम करना है। अगर ऐसे करोगे, मुझे लगता है कि आप और कुछ बन पाओगे। और बड़े लोग को सुनना है, क्योंकि ये सच है कि प्रोफेशनल प्लेयर्स बहुत लोग कम बन सकते हैं, लेकिन आप अगर इस रास्ते पे अच्छे से आप करोगे, तो एक अच्छा इंसान जरूर बनोगे, आप अपनी जिंदगी आप बसा पाओगे। ये मैं कहना चाहता था। थैंक यू।
Thank you very much, Mr. Singto, for those lovely words. I think ये हमारे सारे स्टूडेंट्स का बहुत हौसला बढ़ाता है। Before we let Chinglan Sana and Aniket go, it will be inappropriate if we don't let the students ask you a few questions. So students, anyone, किसी को कोई सवाल है तो प्लीज आप अपना Pooja, should we let them raise their hands or ask on the chat window?
They can raise their hands and I can unmute them.
Shiv Shankar has a question. Praneeth, can you please give him?
शिव शंकर, मैंने आपको रिक्वेस्ट भेजा, आप एक्सेप्ट कर सकते हो, आप अनम्यूट करके बोल सकते हो।
Yes, I can.
शिव शंकर, आप म्यूट हो गए फिर से। प्रणीत।
As so you have told, you have faced lots of struggles and you have lots of struggles for getting this position. My question is for you: what did you make that faithful and confident to get this position, to come this position?
Is this question for me?
I think, yeah, to
I
both
can't hear.
you and Kate. Just
Okay. Okay, brother. I would say, you know, it's very important that to not give up and to know अपने आप पे यकीन करना और बिलीव होना कि मुझे बनना ही है and वही रास्ता में, on that direction you need to keep pushing yourself, keep working hard. As our coach Thangboy mentioned कि पढ़ाई के साथ साथ भी अपना स्ट्रगल तो हर जगह होगा, तो वही स्ट्रगल जर्नी है टू सक्सेस और टू फेलियर, सो और वो जर्नी में फेलियर भी मिलेगा, सक्सेस भी मिलेगा। तो वो फेलियर में आप रुक गए तो नहीं बन पाओगे, तो वही फेलियर में आपको और हौसला बनना है और you need to have more positivity and you need to keep working hard. आपको वो एक स्टेपिंग स्टोन होना है कि आगे जाके ये एक लेसन है मेरे, और हौसला बढ़ाना है अपने आप पे, और आप जो करते हैं वो करते रहना है। और फिर इफ यू डोंट गिव अप यू विल डेफिनेटली फाइंड सक्सेस। सो स्ट्रगल्स तो हर जगह मिलेंगे आपको, तो आई वुड से इज जस्ट कीप गोइंग एट इट एंड यू विल फाइंड सक्सेस।
Arya Devkar, up next. You can ask. Then Mehak. Arya, I've sent you a request for unmute. You can unmute and ask. Yeah.
Yes, my question is that what emotions do you feel when you play well?
Please repeat the question again. What emotions do we get when we play
When
well?
you play well.
It's of course it's a good feeling, no? It's amazing feeling. Like जैसे आप एग्जाम देते हो क्लास में, आप अगर अच्छा मार्क्स लेके आते हैं तो घर पे आके मम्मी पापा आपको तारीफ करता है, अच्छा लगता है, सभी आपको अच्छा बोलता है ना? आपने जो मेहनत किया है उसका फल मिला है आपको। सो इट्स ऑलवेज गुड, क्योंकि आप प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, मेहनत करते हैं, क्योंकि आप अच्छा खेलने के लिए करते हैं ना। तो it's a good feeling of course, and we work hard to enjoy the game, which is very important. आप जो करते हैं वो enjoy करना है, enjoy करेगा तो रिजल्ट भी अच्छा मिलने का चांस बढ़ता है। समटाइम्स इन स्पोर्ट्स कभी हारता है कभी जीतता है, लेकिन आप अगर अच्छा करता है तो खुशी मिलता है कि अच्छा किया है, मैंने 100% दिया है। रिजल्ट तो कभी जीतता है कभी हारता है, वो तो गेम में होता रहता है स्पोर्ट्स में। तो या it's always a good feeling when you win and do well, of course.
Mehak, I've sent you a request. Yeah, you can ask the question, Mehak.
So my question is that how in this lockdown pandemic, how can we stay in home and get more practice and more fit by doing exercises? Because some students have problems where they cannot do it by online and practice it in the home. So how can we do that?
Am I taking all the questions? Aniket is also there, or is it for me?
I think both you and Aniket can answer for sure. Even Aniket can take them.
Okay.
बता दो
Aniket,
भाई।
you like to answer this? ठीक है भाई, ठीक है। महक, hi, I would like to say like अगर आप किसी चीज को अगर आप करना चाहते हैं तो घर पे भी स्किपिंग कर सकता है, पुशअप कर सकता है, क्रंचेस कर सकता है, योगा कर सकता है। सो यू विल ऑलवेज फाइंड अ वे। अगर आप एक चीज कुछ भी चीज करना चाहता है तो एक तरीका मिल ही जाता है, घर पे भी कहीं भी तो अपने आप को फिट रखने के लिए आप वो सब चीज कर सकते हैं। और आप अगर मैचेस देखना है, वीडियो देख सकते हैं यूट्यूब में, मैचेस देखना है तो there's always way to improve. And of course during COVID, during this pandemic, it's very difficult even for us professionals to get out of the house and train. So घर पे एक बॉल लेके हम लोग वॉल पे मारना शुरू कर देता है, मम्मी चिल्लाते हैं चिल्लाने दो लेकिन खेलना ही है बट यस, एज आई सेड, अगर कुछ भी चीज करना होता है, करना चाहता है तो कर सकता है। एक एक्सक्यूज नहीं होना चाहिए कि पेंडेमिक है तो मैं नहीं करूंगा, मैं घर पे रहूंगा। अगर आप करना चाहते हैं तो कुछ भी करके फिट रख सकते हैं अपने आप को। या दिस व्हाट आई वुड से।
Where's Idrisi next? Thank you, Mac. Yeah. वैस मैंने आपको एक रिक्वेस्ट भेजा, आप वो अनम्यूट करके बात कर. हाँ बोलो.
Yes, sir. Yes. Bhaiya, I have a question of both of you. That who is your best football player? Like my best football player are Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, Sunil Chhetri, Bhaichung Bhutia. That motivate me. So, who is your best football player?
My favorite footballer is Ronaldo. So, जिस तरह से रोनाल्डो हार्ड वर्क कर रहा है और अभी भी करते आ रहा है, तो उनको देख के मैं मोटिवेट होके और भी अच्छा प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ. तो यही है कि आप जिसको आप जिसको सपोर्ट कर रहे हो और जिसको देख रहे हो कि बस उनसे कुछ चीजें आपको सीखनी भी चाहिए. तो ईच एंड एवरी डे आप कुछ उनसे सीख के उनके साथ उनके जैसा बनने का ट्राई करना चाहिए आपको.
I agree with Aniket. इसमें कि Ronaldo is very inspirational. The way he maintained himself, the way he at his age is at the top level, and his work ethic, his discipline, his dedication towards the game is close to none. And he's a very inspirational player, and he's one of my favorite player. But for me as a defender, I really like Sergio Ramos, and I watch his videos. I learn a lot from him, his lifestyle and everything. And he's also a beast. He works really hard, very disciplined, and they have given everything to the game. जैसे वो लोग कैसे सोता है, कैसे खाता है. Their lifestyle is all related to football, which is something we can all learn. So yeah, Sergio Ramos will be my favorite player.
फैजा खान नेक्स्ट. मैंने आपको रिक्वेस्ट भेजा. You can ask your question next. Yeah.
So my question is, what is your favorite performance as a player?
Favorite performance as a player will be like, for me as a defender, the team when the team wins and when we don't concede a goal, it's a very good feeling, and I would say it's a good performance. And yeah, happy if we win and with a clean sheet.
अनिकेत सर आप भी बता दो. अनिकेत सर आप भी बता दो अपना फेवरेट परफॉर्मेंस.
जैसे भाई ने बताया वही है भाई मेरा भी आंसर.
Yeah, I think Mayur, we can take one more question, then we can move on to the closing of it.
Okay. Bharat. Okay, Yogesh. 1 second. Yogesh, मैंने आपको रिक्वेस्ट भेजा. हाँ, yeah.
Sir, what as a player, what do you think? As a player, what do you think while playing the match?
While playing the match, a lot of things happens. Sometimes mistakes, sometimes a lot of things happen during a game. But you have to be focused during the game mentally. When you make a mistake, it's okay. You forget about it. You focus on the next one. एक गलती होता है तो वो गलती के बारे में नहीं सोचते है. वो गलती को तुरंत बुला के दूसरा बिकॉज वो गेम चलते रहता है और वो गेम में फोकस रहना है. 90 मिनट पूरा फोकस रखना है और कम से कम गलतियां करना है और टीम के लिए सोच के खेलना है. और what can you give to the team? How can you make a difference? How can you contribute? तो ये सब चीज रहता है. और to do the right things, what the coach wants and what the playing style of the team is, वो हिसाब से खेलना है. एक individually वो भी नहीं करना है. You should never think individually. You should think about the team first and what can you contribute to the team, as an individual. तो ये सब चीज दिमाग में रहता है और ये सब चीज टीम को जिताने के लिए ये रहता है और गेम में ऑफ कोर्स जीतने के लिए खेलता है.
Thank you very much, Singlan, Sana, and Aniket.
Welcome, brother.
Sandeep, should we take one last question or we are done?
Sure, we can take one last question. No problem.
Okay, yes. Shodha, I'm sending you a unmute request. You can request and ask your question. Yashoda? Yeah, you can go.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am,
Yeah.
sir, my question is, Didi, sir, is what we have to do if what we have to do to get us energy, sir?
I can't hear.
Sir, what we have to do to get energy
and shoot our football very fast.
Now I can hear.
Yeah, I think the question is, Yashoda, मैं बोल देता हूँ. They are asking that what can they do to improve their stamina and energy level so that they can
Yes, sir.
play better football.
जी, आपको पहली बात तो आपको ग्राउंड पे जाके दौड़ना पड़ेगा, मेहनत करना पड़ेगा, और दूसरी बात है कि अच्छा खाना पड़ेगा, अच्छे से रेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, अच्छे से टाइम पे सोना पड़ेगा, अच्छा चीज खाना पड़ेगा. यू नो, जो मम्मी लोग देता है ना, दूध देता है, अंडा देता है, आप लोग बोलते हैं नहीं खाना है, नहीं वो खाना है. यू नो, एंड या न्यूट्रिशन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है, और मेहनत करना, ग्राउंड पे जाके भागना, दौड़ना, यू नो, कीप इम्प्रूविंग. दैट्स द वे.
अनिकेत, मेरे को पर्सनल चैट पे बहुत मैसेजेस आ रहे हैं कि वो आपसे सुनना चाहते हैं सवाल का जवाब.
वही यार, मैं ही सवाल जवाब दे रहा हूँ. अनिकेत, कम ऑन.
तो यही है भाई ने जो बताया कि लाइक ईच एंड एवरी डे प्रैक्टिस करना है, तो और प्रैक्टिस करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है. लाइक वो आपको हमेशा फिट रखेगा, और काफी लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए अगर आप ईच एंड एवरी डे प्रैक्टिस करोगे तो आप ज्यादा टाइम तक भी खेल सकते हो. तो हार्ड वर्क करना बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है.
Great, thank you very much, Singlan Sana and Aniket.
थैंक यू भाई.
आप लोगों ने हमारे स्टूडेंट्स का दिन बना दिया, उनको बहुत ही अच्छे टिप्स दिए कैसे वो बेटर फुटबॉलर्स और बेटर इंसान बन सकते हैं, फिट रह सकते हैं, और अपने घर पे भी माँ बाप को हेल्प कर सकते हैं और बेहतर इंसान बन सकते हैं. Thank you very much. So, I mean, just moving forward, I would like to thank everyone, Hyderabad FC players, all the panelists who came beforehand, the whole audience, coaches, students, who have made this a very memorable evening. A very special thank you also to the background staff of Hyderabad FC, who got the players, who got the panelists, who helped us in creating this event, and for my friends at Enabling Leadership for ensuring that the event went by smoothly. In these tough times, COVID का भी एक क्वेश्चन आया. हम सबको बस साथ मिलकर रहना पड़ेगा, हम सबको एकजुट होकर रहना पड़ेगा, and we have to just become stronger together. And I would like to thank everyone for just buying into that cause, helping everyone come together today and becoming stronger together. As we say goodbye to everyone on this call, can I ask all of you please, अगर आप अपना वीडियो ऑन करके एक थम्स अप दे सकते हैं सबको. सब अपना अगर वीडियो ऑन करके एक थम्स अप दे सकते हैं. अनिकेत,
स्क्रीनशॉट, या
Singlan Sana, all our panelists who have stayed back with us, all our coaches, all our students. I'll give you 1 minute to put those thumbs up. Fantastic. I can see videos starting. Brilliant. Thank you. As अब हम देख पा रहे हैं हमारे छोटे stars of the future, the next Aniket, Singlan Sanas, Aditi Chauhans of the future, giving very excited thumbs up. I bid farewell to all of you. Thank you once again for being a part of this event. I would like to thank my lovely co-hosts Pooja and Anjali for helping me out through the whole session, Praneeth, Mayur, and everyone else who was part of the event and helped us in putting this together. And I would like to just wish all of you a fantastic evening ahead. Thank you very much once again for joining and making an evening out of this. Bye-bye.
You're welcome, brother.
See you soon.
Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.